Thank you very much. I would like now we will proceed. We will take 2 questions from the floor. We're completely blinded here, but I'll try to see you. I can't hear the question. If you can please introduce yourself and ask a brief question. If I understand you correctly, Rabbi, you're asking for autonomy, 2 autonomies. I would like to remind you what Ben Gurion said in Baltimore in 1942. He said to the representatives who attended from the 2 houses in the United States Congress. He said that the Jewish nation returns to the state of Israel through the mandate received from the Bible. He said that from the secular perspective. He never considered establishing an autonomy within the state. I would like to propose continuing the path that Ben Gurion began. He knew where we were going, we knew which direction we were going in. He didn't talk about the Holocaust as the mandate for our state. He talked about the mandate given to us in the Bible. He was an atheist who believed in the Bible, and therefore, honored Rabbi, in my opinion, your proposal is not one of unity. I heard all of the speakers, and I couldn't wait to hear what you were saying. But you expressed complete distrust in the state of Israel. And I would like to ask you one other question. Excuse me if you can just summarize in 1 sentence. And this autonomy, the state of Israel will recruit its army in order to protect you. But I would like to say, I want to argue that it is not worth it for me to protect you. I believe this, and I want most people believe in both. Don't propose autonomy. The autonomy in other countries failed. The autonomies in Europe failed. Only unity will work. One more question. Just please wait for the microphone and introduce yourself. Tzvia Gross. He is the legal advisor for the National Security Council. His approach was similar to what Reuven Gal said. In ideological issues, the majority cannot force its opinions on the minority, but agreements must be reached through discussion. But then we moved on to the second part. There were quite logical things that were said here, but I would like to ask the honored Rabbi, in this autonomy of the secular people, what about divorce and marriage, and public transportation? How would that work in the secular autonomy? How do you plan on implementing this coexistence or lack of coexistence? Will this autonomous community within the state of Israel is inappropriate. It was appropriate only in Europe. There are 2 questions on the same topic. If there are any other questions, I think that first Rabbi Jakobovits will respond. In brief, of course. I certainly aspire to achieve unity, Jewish unity among all Jews in our generation. It is clear, and it has been said, I believe that the attempt to try to work together on the community level, not on the general level, where we must work together, but on the community level, we have faced ongoing conflicts. They have been they have occurred repeatedly, and it is very dangerous for us and dangerous for Jewish unity when the ideological differences are so deep it is sometimes we sometimes reach the situation where, in order to achieve peace within the home, we need two separate rooms within a single home. That is what I am proposing: 2 rooms within a single house. We will not step on each other's toes. On the individual level, if we don't do so, and if a significant part of the state is managed according to Torah law, which will have to develop greatly in order to take on a challenge on this level, but if that occurs, then there will certainly be religious involvement in the military, at least in part of the army, that will operate according to, not only according to the Jewish way of life, under the authority of the secular community, but it will be managed independently by the Torah community. There will, of course, be cooperation. What don't you understand? There are two communities within a state. What don't you understand about that? It happens in India. There are 2 legal systems. That's one point that was mentioned. That was the question of the individual status of within the pluralist community. I'm sure that there are many who are religious but have pluralistic ideologies will feel more comfortable belonging to that community. I don't know that I'm not sure that they will work without a rabbinate. I believe that there will be a lot of Judaism, a lot of Jewish norms within the community, but we will not be the ones who force those values on them. And I think that under these circumstances, we can live peacefully together, and we can have a very prosperous integration between us. Reuven, would you like to discuss, to comment? I've met quite a few people within the ultra-Orthodox society, but I must say that the solution that Rabbi Jakobovits presented is not representative of the entire ultra-Orthodox sector. But it does represent the depth in which he presented his proposal. Expresses the deep differences between them and the secular community. We don't understand the detachment. That's not quite the right word. We don't understand the rift, completely different approach that most of the ultra-Orthodox sector takes, and how they interpret different situations. So, which is why I said that canceling the Tal law in the worst case could have led to. I think we can come down from that perspective. It could have gone in 2 different ways. It could have caused civil war. Enforcing law on the ultra-Orthodox community, including threatening that they go to jail. It's meaningless. I would like to remind you of the issues of what happened in Emmanuel. Hundreds of students were willing to go into jail singing. They see it as a way of sanctifying the name of God. One proposal is to drop everything. Let's separate. Let's go into different directions. Autonomy, an Orthodox discourse or secular discourses, but the simple way of saying it is that we'll each go in our own direction. We think that this is disastrous for the Jewish nation in the long term. And I would like to conclude with words that come from the heart and not from the head. I would like to remind all of you that there is not a single home in which there are no photographs from their parents' families with their photos of their relatives or grandfathers with long beards, and There's not a single family that doesn't come from roots, that family does not come from roots that are similar to those that Rabbi Jakobovits presents. We tend to forget that, and we tend to forget that in order to maintain our Jewish identity in the state of Israel, it is not sufficient to have peace and security. The cultural and spiritual aspects of Judaism is rooted deep in the ultra-Orthodox society. Instead of fighting against it, ignoring it, or battling with it, we must give it legitimization and to a certain extent separate ourselves from them. We must not exclude. We must speak. We must talk, and we must meet. We have to embrace the community. I'm not sure that the Rabbi Jakobovits solution is one of connection and embracing. The opposite is true, but it is our obligation to find ways of connecting and not choosing solutions such as autonomy as is presented in their community. I think that if anyone needed another example of the conclusion that I reached quite a while ago, which is that talking is absolutely necessary. We must show empathy. We must understand all of the perspectives of this complex issue. Those who think that making decisions can depend on reaching agreements is another way of saying that we have decided to give up on reaching decisions. We've seen a clear example of the truth of this statement. Instead of talking about two states for two nations in relation to the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, here we heard the same solution for the Torah and the liberal communities. I think that it does not represent the opinions of the majority of the ultra-Orthodox leadership, but I believe that we do not have partners within the ultra-Orthodox leadership. I want to distinguish between the leadership and the population. There is no partner within their leadership to reach an agreement that will change reality and help us formulate a plan that will make the change that is so necessary. The leadership of rabbis have their own social and cultural, economic issues. And now you went too far. You went too far before, and believe me, it was hard for me to listen to what you were saying. And I was debating whether I should say this or not because it's a very prestigious event. But all of these insinuations that about the shallowness of the secular youth, I am very familiar with the secular community. There are large percentages of people of youth with severe social problems. The ultra-Orthodox has failed in the manner in which it treats its youth because it forces its opinions and way of life on it and is unable to handle any kind of deviation. So please don't reprimand us for the way we raise our own youth. The solution that was represented by our team and the one that we represented did not talk about coercion. It talked about, in the worst case, it talked about not transferring funds. And everyone went crazy and started announcing that it's sanctifying in God's name because we said that we're not going to give benefits. When we talked about reducing these type of benefits that the secular community isn't entitled to at all, these are considered destructive decrees, and suddenly those who receive exemption from military service, suddenly all the borders fall, and they can go to academic universities. What I want to say is that this is not a religious ideological issue. This is a social, cultural concern of a community that has developed norms for over 200 years, and together with the community, we must undergo a process of change, and this change cannot be dependent on reaching agreements, but it must be gradual, it must be logical, because it is necessary both for the IDF, we need it for the social and moral considerations. We will not be able to maintain motivation among the secular youth if there are so many that if 30% are ultra-Orthodox and over 20% are Avs, meaning over 50% don't serve, and another 10% that don't serve for other reasons. And then, of course, there's the issues. There are the financial implications. We cannot say that the principle of military service is more important than the ideology of learning Torah, but we must incorporate both. Thank you very much. Before I give the floor to Meir to summarize, I would like to say that one of my insights from this team, which was emphasized here, is that it is very easy to reach these deep arguments, and from there we can proceed. One of the things that encouraged me about the team that included representatives from the ultra-Orthodox community was that when we started talking about the practical solutions, it is possible to proceed, because there are people in the ultra-Orthodox community who do want to work, who are willing to be recruited. The concerns about the intention to change them, there have genuine fear, just as I am genuinely afraid of other ideologies being forced upon me. And we must proceed one step at a time while understanding the concerns of each side and reach practical decisions so that we don't find ourselves in different opposite corners of the arena.
Thank you, Pnina. I would first of all like to thank personally all the members and all the people here, but mostly to Rabbi Jakobovits, because I want to tell you that we made a great effort, a continuous effort, to bring here someone who both lives an ultra-Orthodox way of life, but also has an independent way of thinking that is also constructive, and who would be willing to talk to us in such a forum. And I would like to express my great appreciation to Rabbi Jakobovits, who knew this will be a secular audience. He knew that what he will be saying will not be understood, will not be acceptable perhaps, and will not be agreed with, but I want to congratulate you and thank you for doing this, because I think that you made a great contribution to us, to our understanding, to understanding where we are living and what our limitations are, with all due respect. And I think that even though we think that we are the majority, we should also see their limitations, and I think that you really should be commended for that. I would also like to tell you that I also listened very intently to what the rabbi had to say and to the words of the members of our team. And it seems very frustrating on the surface of it, because it seems that this business is a matter of them and us. And the rabbi sort of painted this in an organizational sort of color, but it's a matter of us versus them, and we, the secular public, think that there should not be a situation of us and them, there should be us and us. Excuse me, but I don't agree with you on that. And I want to tell you that within this frustration, and I don't want to reflect any sort of satisfaction, but I want to tell you that I still think that we should look, or at least look for, those sides that have light and hope for the future. I said this at the beginning, and I would like to emphasize this now, that even in the ultra-Orthodox complex community that is also very diverse within itself, we have very great developments and changes going on. And there are those in society, and especially in the leadership of the ultra-Orthodox society, that are very fearful of these changes and developments that are going on, because they are worried for their own unity and for their own lifestyle. And the question here is, what is the process that will be formed and will be ultimately successful. And I think that it is up to us, it is our role as a secular individuals that see the greater picture to enforce and strengthen these forces and the processes that we have in the ultra-Orthodox community that can lead to a discussion, that can lead to a dialogue, and to the creation of a situation whereby we can live together and work together as one nation. It will bind us also, it will also commit us to going along with them, to take them into our consideration, and to build this life together in a smart way. And as Yohanan Plesner said, in any event, we shouldn't think that this will be a story of here and now. This will be a long process that we will have to abide by for many a year. I'd like to thank you for taking part in this very important session.